and welcome to this very special interview edition of the Irish Wrestling Podcast. My name is Mark O'Brien, and I'm joined today by a very special guest, somebody I've been a huge fan of for a very long time. Some call him hysterical, some call him mighty. He's very hasty, he'll be a thorn in your side. He's against men who are called Jack. He will slap them, and he's very opposed to kneeling. I am joined by the one and the only Mr. Shane Haste. How are you doing today, sir?
Good, mate. Good. I'm keen for a nice lunge though. So kneel, a lot of people confuse that with the kneel, and
Okay.
that's the biggest problem in my life, I guess.
Listen, if that's the biggest problem in your life, that's not a bad life to live after all.
No, man, it's good.
No.
It's a very good life.
I appreciate it. No, listen, thank you very, very much for joining me. It's fine Friday evening. I'm in Dublin. It's pissing down rain. You're in Los Angeles, and it seems to be beautiful and shining. So I'm very, very jealous of you.
It was a little overcast this morning, which is good because when I was walking the dogs, it keeps the temperature down. We can go for a little bit longer. But now, yeah, it's picked up. There's a little bit of cloud, but it's sunny, which is nice for the weekend. Hopefully the temperature does drop. It's been pretty warm here, which I don't know, compared to my friends in Australia, when I talk about, oh, it's bloody hot here, they're like, what is it? And it's like high 30s. And they're like, oh, that's nice. That's a nice winter day.
Yeah. It's high teens here most of the time, so I am very jealous of you. Listen, I won't take up too much of your time. Obviously, this week there's been big news. You've signed a new contract in New Japan.
Yeah, with the other options out there and whatnot, like, I don't know, I love Japan. New Japan treat me so well. Seeing how other friends were getting treated at other companies, it just didn't make things seem very appealing to me compared to just how well New Japan do look after me, how accommodating they are, and just the trajectory that TMDK is going at the moment there. It's like, I don't know, why would I want to leave?
Listen, I'm a huge fan of New Japan and TMDK. I think there's a huge overlap between, say, Australian and UK humor. I'm Irish, there's similarities as well. So when I'm watching yourselves or I'm watching Zack Sabre Jr., there's an element of shithousery that I enjoy. That I don't know if the American audiences will fully appreciate because given they're American. But how much fun are you guys having working as a unit?
They probably need to be spoon-fed a little bit more, their comedy.
Yeah.
Take that, Americans.
Listen, you're living with them, so I won't say too much.
Yeah, I'm married to one. And I feel like a lot of my comedy does go to waste. A lot of my highbrow intellectual comedy is wasted on her.
Yeah. There's an element of like watching you guys, it's almost feeling like just your interaction with the crowd, almost pantomime. Like just that kind of like just shithousery, pantomime, having fun, having the time of your life. And like, listen, these audiences need mates. Yeah.
I didn't I've done the thing where you got to be serious and on watch the whole time and yada yada. So like, I just want to have fun with my friends.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? And pay the bills. So that all helps.
That comes across very much on screen, like how authentic it feels watching you guys. Like as you talk about how well you've been treated by New Japan, like, oh, hello there. Welcome to running the guest of the show. That is a brute of a dog.
She's not that big. She's all right, but it's the angling. Look at the camera. Look at the camera. Say hello. Oh, hello. All right, get out of here. Get out of here. You don't want to be up here. Oh, you're too hot. She's come. Yeah. They come from outside and they come in like hot water bottles, man. They're insane infernos. But yes, wrestling.
Wrestling, yes. New Japan, yes. Shane Thorne, yeah. Sorry, just chatting. Listen, you're obviously with TMDK, working with your mates, having the time of your life. Like you've worked with previous guys you worked with previously in Australia, the likes of Jonah and whatnot. How cool, how enjoyable is this last run been in particular with New Japan?
Let me think. It's kind of like been a
couple of years,
a bit since I haven't been there for a while, but like especially the end of last year when I was there a lot more at a time. Like we were doing the 2-3 week tours, at least three. I did like a fair few 3-week tours. By the end of last year, we were there for quite a lot of it. And then it does help to have your mates there too, and just to be hanging out and having fun. Like, because we did a lot of house shows too, where you really like, there's no cameras there, it's not getting recorded. So you're there 100% for the crowd, the live crowd. And in Japan, live crowds, a lot of those small towns want a certain type of entertainment as well. Especially that's the difference that we can give them as TMDK, as foreigners, like they're going to get that strong style from a lot of the other Japanese guys. So I don't see that as our job to be doing the exact same thing. It's our job to have a different type of entertainment. Not to say that we're doing full Western style silly goose stuff, but silly goosing is my A game. So it is appreciated there, and it's so much easier when you have your mates to bounce off of, and like we know each other's shtick, so it works. Like Mikey and I, it's the clown and the straight guy. You know what I mean? Like what's the expression? How did I forget that already?
Like a straight, good cop, bad cop, kind of straight man comedy.
Yeah, and that's it. And like some people did not get that out of Mikey, and they wanted him to be more. And I'm like, no, he needs to be less. He needs to be like that's the. Yeah, some people in America did not get good cop, bad cop. And I'm like, you guys, didn't you invent it? Like,
I'm working with a lot of Americans, so I do appreciate your current situation on that front. But anyway, working with Mikey, like obviously you guys going back years and years and years. Like I've been a fan of you and Mikey together since we're working in NOAH, like all the way back to 2014 or so. Like how cool has that been to like work with somebody?
2011, I think was the first time we went over there. Awesome. I don't think we which is odd because when we first went to NOAH back in 2011, I think it had to have been. They had us as singles wrestlers there the whole time. And we'd be wrestling each other. Like if you go back and look, like we wrestled each other so many times the first few 3-month stints that we did. And then after a while, they're like, oh, do you guys team? Do you want to do a tag team thing? I'm like, yeah, we're wearing matching gear. Like, how did you not? They didn't realize we were a tag team. I'm like, we're wearing matching gear.
Yeah.
So, took a while for them to click on there. But
But this is by design, funny enough, but like, listen, when you guys did get rolling as a tag team, like you had a couple of cool accomplishments. Obviously, became tag team champions, GAC over there. You also became like the first Gaijin team to win the Tokyo Tag Team of the Year in 2014 or 2013, I believe. So that was
the first team
Dan
in
Hansen
10 years.
And Vader. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the first team, not the first, and then like before that, Strongman had won it with another Japanese wrestler. But yeah, the first two Gaijin to win it since
that's pretty cool.
Vader and Hansen. Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, like obviously, then off the back of that, you had like some incredible matches like the Killer Elite Squad. You're facing like other Gaijins like Lance Archer and Harry Smith. Harry, please God, can understand your humor a bit better than the American cohort. But then you also had some really cool matches. You were given a farewell tour, which is again unique in itself. You get to finish it.
There's no hard feelings with us leaving. Like they understood that we'd done everything we could there, and there was the offer to go try something new. And I mean, like I've seen this with wrestling fans lately, kind of when someone signs with WWE, they're like, oh, how could you do that? Like, how dare you? Like there's other things here. But it's like, and it will get to this point in the future, but like I think most wrestlers who are like getting signed and these establishing themselves on indies and other companies, then going to WWE, they grew up watching WWE.
Yeah.
We grew up watching WWF. Like how long's AEW been around for now?
5 years,
Yeah, 5, maybe a little bit more than that. But so in another 10 years, there will be kids who have grown up watching AEW their whole lives, and they're like, that's my dream.
Yeah.
So it is like a lot of people signing to WWE now. It's like it's their dream since they were a child. They grew up watching this. They even if they kind of feel like, well, maybe it's not the place to be, you still have to do it because it's your fucking dream. Like, and like I'm saying, in the future, it will be some kid's thing to grow up and be in AEW. It's like, oh, when I was a kid, I used to watch it, and that's where I want to be. And the same like Japan. I meet so many guys. A lot of the young boys there, they grew up watching NOAH or New Japan, and that's where they wanted to be. Especially like there was some of the NOAH kids there. I'm like, well, why did you want to be here and not New Japan, which at the time was much higher? And they're like, oh, I grew up watching Misawa-san and stuff like that, and that's Kobashi-san, and so that's where they wanted to be. So that's where they chose to be, and that's cool. Like, and then there's kids, and they watch New Japan growing up, and they're like, this is my dream. Oh, that's fucking cool, man. Like you can go to the dojo system, become a young boy. Yeah, it's very cool. Like, like in the future, it will be AEW too that people have grown up watching, and that's their dream since they were a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So that's why also, yes, to get back on point, when we left NOAH, they understood too, like that WWE was the dream for a lot of people.
That's right. There was a nice touch from a company more than anything. Not everybody's going to be getting that treatment. But I was chatting to somebody recently, like he plays rugby in this part of the world, and I'm not know if you're an NRL and AFL fan. If you're
I'm West Coast.
Oh, you're West Coast. Sorry, okay, fair enough.
I'm a West Coast guy, so we don't really do rugby.
All right, okay, Western Force or
But
whatever.
I know it.
Yeah,
I know it.
Yeah.
Well, we were Western Reds when I was a kid.
Oh, right. Oh, very good.
Yeah.
But I've got friends who play rugby, and like they'll explain to me, like, if I get an offer to join one team 1 year, and if I get injured, if I turn down and hope to join like the end of my contract the following year to that extent, and I get injured in between, that offer's not always going to be there. So if you get approached by like the biggest company in the world, given like how small a market wrestling is in terms of being able to earn a sustainable living, it's kind of hard to and you never know if he's going to come back around to you. So like, listen, of course you're going to jump at it when it's offered to you.
Yes, 100%. I don't blame anyone. And, you know, as a worker in the business, you see people go there and like get pushes and get bells and whistles and all this stuff, and you're like, fuck them. But I'm like, I'd do it too.
Yeah.
Hey, if the Lakers called me today and said, hey man, we need to make you our starting forward.
Yeah.
Is a forward a thing in basketball? Sure.
Could be. Don't know.
Center?
Could be. Don't
know. Here's a contract. Would you do it? I go, hell yeah. Lakers would have the worst season of their lives, but I'd do it.
We might be a villain in the newspaper, but like you say, I say how high. I mean, if you're going to pay me, I'll do it.
That's it. 100%, man.
That's 100%. It's like, hey, going from like NOAH, and like you're having that farewell tours, your kind of tag team of the year, your GHA tag team champions, then you're signing with NXT. So like, what was that like as an adjustment, moving from like, were you living full time in Japan, or were you commuting from?
Essentially, we were on like 6-month visas, so we were doing 6 months on 2 weeks off to like renew our visa and then heading back. So essentially, I had stuff in Australia, but I didn't have a house. I wasn't paying rent or anything. I didn't have a job for at least 2.5 years. But before going to NXT and even doing that last little tour of NOAH is when I had my first ACL surgery.
Oh yeah.
So I was home for 6-7 months.
Okay.
So I was a little bit more adjusted. But then I'd like lived in America before on and off.
Yeah.
So I was used to America. And also like I don't give a shit. So and that's like, you know, me and Mikey were going together. So you always have someone to lean on. That's the big thing why we started teaming and traveling together is because we were going to America a lot.
Yeah.
Alternatively, and you go by yourself and you start from the bottom, work your way up, come back, go again, start from the bottom. Like, and so it's just better when you have someone, a friend, then you don't care. You're like, whatever, man, we're just whatever will happen.
Yeah.
And shit like that. And also, you know, like we signed when we were about 29, 30.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'd been wrestling for however long each, over 10 years.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like chill, like,
Perfect.
you know, whatever. I wish we'd kind of like had a little less, like we still cared because we still want to be good workers. Like that's what got us in NOAH. That's what got us to where we were, starting at the bottom. When people said we need you to do this, we did it. And we did whatever it was to the best of our ability, and that got rewarded there. Yeah. Unfortunately, in NXT and WWE, that isn't always the case.
Yeah.
You do what's asked of you. There's too many people asking different things, so you're trying to cater for everyone.
Yeah.
And you end up just get put in a point, and there's a lot of guys I've seen who are great workers, great hands, and then they're like, oh, well, they don't need to win. They'll just make other people look good. We can trust them to do that. Cool. Yeah. But then what about the person you're having win all the time? Can they be trusted to win all the time?
And again, like wrestling in terms of wins and losses, that's like it's decision making. It's subjective, it's objective. Whoever is the guy I want to win, but he's going to win, but he's also going to be my champion, which means he's going to appear more and get paid more, despite the guys who are being trusted to lose might be better workers.
Yes.
Like, how is that dynamic? Like on a personal level, you've uprooted, gone halfway around the world, living in Florida, and then having to kind of take on those additional stresses as such.
It was pretty, like, it was exciting for a while. And then, like, so some of the worst times of my life being there. It was awful. Like, and I get it. Like, so, like, trainers and producers and other people there, wrestlers there, everyone's just trying to keep a fucking job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone's, especially around that time, everyone's just trying to keep a job. So to keep your job, you have to look like you're giving a lot of criticism and stuff like that. Like that's what they see on paper. Like, oh, that's a lot of good. That's a lot of feedback, positive feedback. I don't remember. There was like a full year that I don't think we got any positive feedback. Like you would just be so worried coming back through the curtain because you're just going to get shit on because that's the only kind of criticism that some people could give you is negative criticism. And it's just negative, negative, negative. Someone gave me the good advice of when you go back behind the curtain, just be upset, be like really down on yourself, beat them to it. So if you come back, like, oh, that was shit, that sucked, oh, that was the worst thing ever, what am I doing? Then people are like, oh, no, it wasn't that bad. And that was the only way to get any sort of positive criticism.
That weird, like, negative. I don't know. I never understood that kind of hard ass mentality. Like, in terms of, like, I get it. People are trying to, for optics or whatever, in that political environment, you're trying to impress people around you. Which, again, you're saying people keep the job, which is understandable. But like, at that time, everybody must have been miserable. But like, you did debut, and you had like a pretty cool run at the start. Now, I didn't understand what 61 meant. It was TM61. I didn't know if that was a combination of your ages or what the mighty 61, whatever it was. Was there any backstory behind that?
It's like it was an idea Mikey had of because you give them a list of names and suggestions, they ignore it, of course, and do whatever they want. Then so it was just like +61 was on a thing, which is the calling code for Australia.
Okay.
So it's the phone calling code for Australia is +61.
Okay.
So yeah, it was just they were like, oh, we're going to take the first part of the thing and then add it to another one, and you're going to be it was Turner and Miller.
Okay.
That and Turner was not in any of the names that I had suggested.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like, all right. One of the gimmicks that we suggested, and they were like, no, was and I think it would have been great. Some people I've talked to have been like, no, was the War Boys, but like our names spelt like like Steve War and stuff like that. Where it's
Phil War,
War Boys, and then we would do like a little bit of a post-apocalyptic thing, not too on the nose. We had the Mad Max jackets already, so it would be kind of a bit like that. And then like we'd both be, because we're not brothers, but like there's different ways of spelling war. But then it would still just be War Boys.
Yeah.
And that was like no. And then Sanity came along later and all these other post-apocalyptic gimmicks. I'm like, okay, so because it wasn't your idea, you don't like it. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, the list of names, and then they're like there and they're like, all right, so we're putting these things together. And I'm like, I don't know, well, this is the biggest wrestling company in the world. Let's trust their process.
Yeah.
Because it was only a little while in that we were there. And I'm like, okay, we'll trust the process. And Mikey had put Nick Miller at the bottom of his list of names as a joke. Because we always say that he's like Nick Miller from New Girl. He's always grumpy and like dumb. And he always does the same face. And so we were giggling like, surely they do a check and realize this is a character on one of the most popular TV shows on at the moment. Nope.
No.
And then they wanted me to be. I did not. I don't think I gave any names that weren't Shane something. Then that Turner was not on the list at all.
Right.
And that was like around the time that was that Scott Turner or something. Yeah, some college kid who was nonsense about or something. And I'm like, can I not be named after a fucking date rapist or something, dude? Like, and they're like, good check. Like, like, how did you not?
Reasonable,
how do I know this and you don't? Don't you have a legal? They have a legal team that runs things through.
Yeah.
So
multinational corporation. Yeah, well, it's better than being Shane 0061 anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. Is it?
Well, no, sorry. Fair point. But yeah, like you hear these stories kind of coming out, and like kind of how the lack of communication around these things. But like, at the same time, you were kind of thrust into a pretty cool spot when you did debut on TV. You're thrown into that Dusty Classic. You're beating the likes of DIY, Austin Aries, Roddy Strong.
We lost to DIY.
Do you not win and get to the final against AOP?
We lost on our debut.
Wow. Okay. Sorry. I had it in my head. Final and take over.
It's the thing, like I have bitter memories of the time.
Okay.
But then I talk to people and they're like, "Oh man, it was so good. It was so cool. You guys did this, that." And I'm like, I get and
Yeah.
then if that's the impression that a lot of people get, then I guess it was good.
Yeah.
It was fine. It wasn't as bad as what
Yeah.
we were thinking. Like there was so much things of like moves and nothing was exciting enough. And then we weren't allowed to do the back elbow moonsault fist drop because one, that's a DQ because it's two moves in a row. I'm like, okay. And another one, they were like, no, it's a finisher. You can't do that. It's a finisher. Like, it's not a fucking finisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just at that time, it was right. Like they were just trying to hammer in the rules, which is fair enough,
Yeah.
but only if everyone is doing it. When you're hammering the rules in on some people and then top
Yeah.
guys don't have to follow that rule,
Yeah.
how am I meant to get to be a top guy if I'm not
Mm.
set on the same ruling
Mm.
system? If I'm not picked to be one of the ones, yeah,
The
it's
audience
rough.
aren't clued into what the rules are either. That's one of my biggest gripes. There's so
Yeah,
many different things, and especially in
yeah,
WWE TV, that isn't applicable to other companies. You watch it, and like, particularly around tag
yeah.
team wrestling, I love tag team wrestling in particular,
Hmm.
just around kind of hot tags and whatnot. And it's just so
Yep.
many micro rules in WWE that could easily be articulated across
Yeah.
commentary that can improve your understanding and viewership. Because viewer rules make wrestling good and make you're in a framework like
Yes.
UFC or
Yes.
whatever. You know things you can or can't do, and it becomes more like a
Hmm.
contest. That's why I love New
Yeah.
Japan, because it does feel like a contest. It feels like a sporting occasion.
Yeah.
Um,
And like I get it. Like I get that. And so what they were trying to do is definitely at the time to re-educate the fans, and we were being used to do that without having to explain it before every match because you don't have that time for TV. It's just by consistently doing it and enforcing the rules, um, which they got taxing, and I get it. Like it's not for me. I love the Japan style of more the relaxed rules, and it's about
yeah,
being honorable enough to finish the fight.
yeah,
Um, like the coming in without a tag and staying in. It's about a battle. It's a war. Like there's not many. There shouldn't. Well, there should
yeah,
be, but there's not rules in war. I mean, there are rules of
yeah.
war, but it's still like it's a battle. But then if the harder you enforce those rules, then when you break them, then it means more. So
Mm,
I 100% get both sides, and that's the beauty of the art of wrestling.
yes,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? That
It's my
there's more than one way to do it and interpret it.
100%.
Yeah,
Whatever way,
yeah,
whatever your flavor of ice cream, as people cliche call it. But I mean, at the same
yeah.
time, you kind of went from like being on takeovers. Then obviously, like you sadly you hurt your knee in January 2017, and then you kind of came
No,
back.
I heard it. I heard it way before then, dude.
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah. I tore it in the Dusty Cup the year
Wow.
before.
Okay.
I just because I'd done it before when I tore my ACL the first time in
Shit.
NOAH. I just kept wrestling on it. I took a weekend off and then kept wrestling. We just taped it and then
Yeah, yeah.
eventually did less and less tape. And when I saw like a doctor about it, he was like that the muscles around it had taken over, so they'd
Right.
done the job of the ACL.
Yeah,
So when I tore it the second time, we just kind of ignored it
yeah.
because we had the Australia tour coming up. We had the
Okay.
Dusty Cup finals to do.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I tore it in my singles tag match against Roderick Strong.
Nice.
There's a double stomp from the thing.
Yeah.
Only one of my legs hit him. The other one just went straight down and popped it
Mm.
out the side. And you can see like if you go back, it's on whatever they watch it
Yeah.
on. And I have the clip, and you see me like look at my knee, and I'm like, God damn it. But I'm like, whatever, who cares? Um,
Jeez, that must be
Actually,
rough.
all I could think at the time was I landed. I'd like, whatever, my knee went out. I don't care.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. And I'm like, oh, Terry Taylor's going to be so smug about this being right. Because he's like, why are you jumping off the top rope? Why are you doing this stuff? You're just going to get hurt. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
Terry was right.
So you're getting critiqued for no reason behind the curtain, and then you're hurting yourself in wrestling, like, and then you're working through it. That, like, again, that's probably compounding your own misery. Then, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, I mean, obviously
And
you
then,
got to the
at the
point
same
then.
time, you're getting told one thing,
Yeah,
and then I'm like, I don't believe it. And then the next thing, it doesn't, it's not happening. Like,
yeah,
uh, but looking back, like those things were bits that like everyone was in a learning phase there. And before we were in NXT, I hear horror stories of the times before we got there, and I'm like, wow, how we had it was better than that. And then the next generation, they have it better, and the next generation. So it's a learning process of the whole company. You know what I mean? So there's no, like, you know, no bad feelings and things like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm like, I get jealous watching how the product is now, because I'm like, they'll look like it looks like they just try anything. If someone has an idea, they're like, yep, let's see if it sticks. And that's how it should be, especially NXT level up. That's how it should be.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
So the tail end of your NXT run, like obviously Mikey got released. Like how was that then, having to pivot from like being a tag team to then having to operate on your own? And it was kind of approaching a strange time with kind of COVID around the corner and whatnot. Like how was that for you personally? Like kind of you've come in.
I mean, COVID was still
No, it's a
3
bit
years
away,
away.
but still, yeah.
When Mikey, like, he left because he was miserable. Like, he has the worst PTSD of it. Like, his misery, and he'll never talk, like, you know, like, he does interviews, and I'm like, why do you downplay it, man? Like, they were awful to you. Like, it was really like when they had the birth of his kid, they wouldn't let him go back to Australia because they might need him for TV the next week. Like, shit like that. Like, yeah, just all this stuff. And, like, you know, he had his own personal stuff, and it was just like not cool. Like, the way the company was not cool. But it was never, I don't think it was personal to him. It's that they didn't know, they'd never had that someone have these things before. So they're like, I guess no. And we were in a thing there where we were like, we do the right thing by the company, and the company will do right by us. Which didn't always happen and doesn't happen, as everyone knows. So we didn't speak our voice. Like, I looking back at it, I really wish, like, I just died on my sword there, like, stuck to what I wanted. Because, like, you know, fucking worst thing happens, they fucking fire me. Whatever, man, I'll go to Japan.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I did. But yeah, Mikey leaving, then going to that was good, because, like, he was miserable. He was miserable to be around. Like, his wife and kid were in Australia. He wasn't there watching his child grow up. So he takes a lot more stuff to heart than I do. Like, and that's something that we ebb and flow off each other. That I'm very good with the flow and stuff like that, and he's very meticulous and thinks about stuff. So of course, like, when that happens, you're going to get down on things more. So yeah, it was good for him to get away from it, because he went straight into doing New Japan, doing tours on and off. Like, which, great. He was up there for 2 weeks, coming back home with his family, and that's what he's doing now. And it's the best. Like, we've got this 2 months off, and he just gets to be a dad for 2 months. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's stoked. But yeah, then getting into the singles stuff there, it was fun too, because we finally got to, like, change our name to the Mighty, which we had been fighting for so long. Like, and then and that's the problem with us too. Like, when they asked us, "Are you heels or faces?" We were like, "I guess." Well, we get cheered in Japan, so I guess we're faces. But, like, whatever you guys need, we can be. And they were like, "All right, we need faces." And, like, we should have been heels. Like, we are such better heels. And so we just got to, like, change the name, change the look, and then start really leaning into a heel thing. Which the problem with being an actual heel there is that they believe the crowd responses of boos. Like, what was it? Undisputed Era were the top heels, and I'm like, no, they're not. They're baby faces. They're getting cheered every time they go out. Like, they're baby faces. They're not heels. And then if you go out being an actual heel and getting booed, they're like, oh, I don't think they're very good. The crowd doesn't like them. I'm like, don't work yourself into a shoot, brother. Like, but that was fun. Like, man, by the end of our thing, we had a little run with the Street Profits. And that was fucking great fun. We're doing character shit and just being goofy heels, and they were being fun-loving baby faces. And that was, like, that's pro wrestling. That's what it's meant to be. I mean, like, and then from that we went on to stuff with Danny Burch and Oney Larkin, doing a bit more, like, we're still doing what we do, and then but having hard-hitting matches as well. So going off of that, then I got to continue being a heel. And, like, at that point too, we'd been teaming for a while, and I was, like, interested to see if I could go as a heel. And for the next 2 years, man, I just floated around being a good hand. I almost, at one point, I almost had the most losses in WWE for the year.
Lovely.
Because I was doing the coconut loops, the Orlando loops, and we were doing 3 of those a week, 2 or 3 of those a week. Right. And I was like, I think it was Steve Carino booking them at the time, and I'm like, put me on every single one and don't let me win. Like, I'm a heel. Who cares? These are house shows. The babyface should always win.
You
know what I mean? And so, like I was doing a lot of the main events of those too.
Brilliant.
And then, when COVID hit, we stopped doing those.
Yeah.
But then they couldn't be flying people in, so they needed more people for Raw, SmackDown, main event, NXT. There was 1 week I almost lost on NXT, main event, Raw, and I only needed SmackDown to have lost on all 4 shows in 1 week.
Yeah.
That was the dream for me at the time. I'm like, hey man, I might not get anything out of this company, but I could hold a record for most losses in a year.
Yeah.
And then sadly, I don't think I made it. I think it was about 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
But yeah, we tried.
God loves a trier. But again, you kind of touched on there those appearances of kind of getting into COVID when you started appearing on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
I vividly remember, like, we're all locked in our bedrooms. I'm working remotely. Mm-hmm. You're kind of watching Raw on your phone while you're on your laptop or whatever, and suddenly see you and Brendan Vink come out on Raw. Yeah. Like, again, obviously the Thunderdome kind of stuff, right? And there's not Thunderdome yet.
Well, this would have been this was pre-Thunderdome.
Yeah, it was in the PC, but then you come out. Yeah, like, how did that all come about? Like, again, you're saying you couldn't fly in people in and out, but were you kind of given the preface of like you're now on the main roster, or this is a one-off, or
no? There was just so Vink and I had been doing tag team stuff in NXT on the road loops and stuff too, and the coconut shows. I think I probably, maybe not the most, but I'd say I'm up there with having the most tag team partners in NXT. Like, especially for coconut loops and shit like that, they just throw everyone with me. Especially if you were Australian, you tagged with me. You teamed with me at some point. If you were Australian, we teamed together.
They're a big fan of putting nationalities together in that program for some reason. But anyway,
and that was another thing Mikey and I pitched. Like, when you saw that we came out in the AFL Guernseys, Mikey put this whole package together about teams and how. I'm sure it's not just Australian, but I'm sure it's Irish and English, UK culture that you have your team and you're one of them. Like, it's us. Like, oh, we're doing this weekend. I'm like, you're not on the fucking team, but you're like that. And so that was a thing that he put together, and it was like the banner was "We are the mighty." And it's that camaraderie of team, and he put like an analytics of like how this works, and if we sell it like it's a team, not a tag team, but a team, this is how we push it forward. And that didn't happen.
No, it's fun. Like, I think that's, again, like, kind of touching a cultural thing. Like, I was chatting to somebody recently, like, as to why I think tag team wrestling can be brilliant, and it should. It's got its own art form, because you do have that like sporting feel. It feels like your team, as you've articulated there. You don't get that. Like, I think in American, even if you watch. Like, I know there are teams, obviously basketball, football, all that, but that's all you're supporting your city rather than your team, if that makes sense. Like, you kind of teams come and go from franchises, but you're not necessarily like invested into one. Like, I'm from Glasgow originally, so I follow soccer, like, over in Europe. So like football, Celtic, and like that's a very much a tribe, or there's religion involved, and also you're very much part of that team. Same you guys for AFL as well. You kind of invested in it. That's what tag team wrestling should be, or can be, when it's done right.
Well, I think that's like, you see the Chase U stuff.
Yeah.
That transcends. What the fuck word am I looking for?
Certainly can.
it goes beyond just being the tag team. Yeah. It's the school. And that would have worked exactly the same with like a sporting team. Yeah. So it works. But anyway, what were we on about?
talking about this kind of when you made your Raw debut in 2020.
Oh, me and Vink.
Yeah.
So we had team before. I think before we did Raw, they had us on. I know I was doing main events at the time, but I think we had a couple tag team. We had maybe one tag match on NXT TV as well, which was still being taped at Full Sail. So we did that, and then I was doing the main event. I don't know if we did do a main event tag match before Raw, but then they just. I honestly don't know how it happened. We were just getting calls. Can you be there tomorrow to do this? And we're like, yeah. And then Raw main event, it all felt the same. Like, we were already at the PC training and doing PC matches in front of the other trainees. So this felt didn't feel like Raw. It never felt like Raw to me.
Yeah.
Like, it just felt like a training day. Because too, like we had some where they'd stop the match and be like, start again.
Right.
It was something, yeah. You're like,
Yeah.
all right. Like, so it just felt like training.
Yeah. I remember vividly, there was around that time, there was obviously didn't factor in ad breaks properly for some of those matches, for some of those shows.
Oh yeah.
You'd be watching it on your screen and suddenly they've gone back to live, but people in the ring haven't been told they're back live, and they're kind of chilling on the ropes, chatting like, "Oh yeah, shit, sorry, go back to the match now." So it was it was fucking weird time.
At the PC, we weren't doing them live yet.
Yeah.
So you'd talk with your producer, this is our go to ad spot. You'd hit that, then they'd be like, all right, reset, and then come back from thing. But they'd be like straight away, and I'm like, oh man, let me break. Because usually when you go to break, your end of break crash spot is some like after spot and movement, where in a normal match you do that, slow it down for the heat. You know, and then you'd take, that's where you kind of reassess, get back to it, and then that night, like, we just like did this big run spot, I did dive, and they're like, all right, get back in the ring and start from the next bit. And I'm like, no. Easy, mate. Let me take a breath. And then then we moved to the Thunderdome. That's when they started doing it live. And then, you had a few of those things where they forgot to cut out the live stream.
Yeah.
So the ads would go on for TV, the network TV, but then people streaming it would still see like people rehearsing stuff or whatnot, which we did as well. Like, and it was fine. Like, I thought it was great. It's a TV show. It's a fucking TV show. Calm your farms.
You gave everybody an escape at that time as well.
Yeah, we're all trying to survive. Like, let's just give each other a break. I mean, Florida was fine. Florida never really shut down. Yeah. that was a culture shock going from Florida COVID to LA COVID. Yeah, I was like, oh, masks again. Never did that in Florida.
Listen, in Dublin, you couldn't move. You had 3 kilometer radius you were given, and that's all you can kind of move. So like, what you're providing at the time was an escape for us all. So it was hugely appreciated.
Nothing changed for me during COVID in Florida. Nothing. Just my schedule got easier.
Damn you!
I actually felt like more of a pro wrestler because I was actually wrestling more for shows that counted.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Swings and roundabouts.
So, then the Vink thing that just didn't work out for whatever reason, and then it's more like, I think, and it's fair bump that they randomly put us with MVP.
Yeah.
And then they had a better idea for him, and it was a better idea.
Yeah.
Like the Hurt Business was a better idea. So no harm, no foul with that.
Yeah, I know, but again, it was saying like, oh shit, okay, they're on the main roster now. But again, like, I know to you guys, it mightn't have felt like that way because it felt like another day. But like, for watching from this part of the world, it's still Monday Night Raw for us as such. We're watching it in our bedrooms or whatever. But like later that summer, then, or kind of autumn, you're then taking over, like you become a domestic terrorist essentially. Where you start into the Retribution stuff.
Is that what we were?
I don't know. Maybe you found paper plate and you cut out holes in it. I don't know. Like, how was that like presented to you as such?
Not like that.
Okay.
All that stuff just got sprung on us on the hour as we kind of got it. Like, and you talked to Dijak. I don't know if I didn't listen to his interview. I can't stand Dijak. So, I don't know this. He sends about fucking 5 voice messages in our group chat a day, and you listen to one and you're done. He probably said really nice things about me.
He did, he was talking at length about your group chat as well, actually. Yeah.
But he came up like before they even started doing this, because we weren't a part of the original good fun stuff. He'd already kind of pitched an idea with us all being masked gimmicks and like in the thing, like, so it kind of worked. I don't know if they stole his idea and just changed it.
Yeah.
So we'd all kind of had a little expectation of these things, of ideas of like, okay, cool. So when we get it, we can kind of pivot it into these ways. And every time we would try that, they go, yeah, that's a great idea. Next week, here's something completely different. You're like, all right, well, cool, whatever. Same thing. But I was like, just been in NXT floating for so long, wanting to get the fuck out of that place. And then, so once I got there, like the main event stuff and the Raw stuff, doing that stuff beforehand, especially the main event stuff, I did a lot of singles matches there. And Vince was there watching it, and he really liked me. He like appreciated a worker at that time, very much so. that piece of shit. So have to cover my bases.
Yeah. I was going to say, just
I can't say he was really nice to me, but he's
a
piece of shit.
Yeah.
Fuck. So that's what kept me doing those things, and then be open, and then the fact that I wasn't doing anything consistent in NXT storyline wise, that let like the list of people to be in Retribution at the start was much longer. And then it just got narrowed down to us. So luckily, and then I was like, yes. I was like, whatever, I'll do whatever gets me out of NXT. And just treading water. I'll do it. And then like I remember talking to one of the writers at NXT, and they're like, oh, I didn't know you wanted to be on the main roster. I'm like, I'll fucking kill you. Like, I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, I wanted to be the job guy in NXT for the rest of my life. Little did I know that probably would have worked out fine as well.
Well, I mean, let's say at least at a really strange time in history, you provided something that kind of wouldn't know if it's gripped people, but like it's certainly something that's bloody memorable. And
like
you had a group of guys, and you had a group of guys who got on to do huge, brilliant things, and that nobody's kind of rolled over and disappeared from the scene. Everybody's doing really cool stuff, which is brilliant to see as well.
It's a fucking job, you know what I mean? Like, and especially at that time when you don't know what's certain in life and whatnot, like someone comes along and offers you something like a thing that's stable. And like when they first came with us with it, they were doing the cool fucking Molotovs and flipping cars and flinging around chainsaws, and I'm like, that's fucking cool. And Brennan Mace got to do some of the stuff. He was one of the early guys jumping people backstage out of nowhere. And I'm like, that's cool. That's what I want to do. I want to do fucking, I don't want to technical wrestle. I'm done with that shit. I want to fucking do story stuff and high budget shit like that. And then, so we did for the first few weeks, we had the full putty patrol, as we called them, out there with us. And then COVID laws kind of stuck in a little bit deeper, and they're like, we can't have any extras. And I'm like, oh, well, we lost our goons.
20 people suddenly gone, So see, we got from invasion, like 20 people on TV, so just the lads,
and like that would have been, I don't know how it would have gone if we could have kept all like the goons as well, and then us as the more elite bosses. And then the idea was we pitched for a lot of people to be the big boss, which I'm sure Dijak touched on probably. Did he? Like our dream would have been to have like Shane McMahon to have been you know what I mean? And then it's like a new NWO thing, him trying to kill the company from within kind of bullshit. Which like fuck, this is so fucking, it's just the funniest shit to me is like we're gonna destroy the company or something, whatever it was, and then they give us contracts the next week where like we get drafted, so we're in story.
You're paying us to destroy you.
I'm like, that makes no sense. Like, what? Like, we couldn't, we weren't allowed in here, so we forced our way in here, which was kind of true to us at the time, like, because all of us wanted to be on the main roster, would never get put up there. So now we forced our way in there. Now we're on the main roster. I'm like, we should have sold out instantly. We should have become corporate Retribution and come out in suits and shit. Because they gave us the jobs we wanted. Why are we mad?
Get the suits, but keep the face mask on. That would have been a nice.
I thought that would have been hilarious. Slapjack in a mask. The Slapjack mask in a suit. Fucking hilarious. It's a comedy act. Slapjack's a comedy act. Like they never. I pitched so many ideas after it of like, just let me go full blown comedy with it. Like,
I saw a picture of you online a while ago when you were doing that kind of period where trying to do comedy things. You come out and doing your Crocodile Dundee kind of shtick. Like the kind of the hat, the kind of the vest and everything.
That was just meant to be fun.
It looked hilarious.
Like I just had people tell me like, just be Steve Irwin. Just be Steve Irwin. I'm like, I'm not fucking being a stereotype. And I'm like, whatever, man. Australia's not paying my bills. A white old American man's paying my bills, so I should be a stereotype to him. And it would have worked, but you know, we had to get the color right.
All right.
I'm like, all right, I'm dead in the water. Like, what? But I'm like, there's an iconic color to this. Why would we change the color? Like, that's to me, that was just like, okay, cool. We're not doing it then. Anything to not do it.
Like sometimes in life you're like just fighting an uphill battle, but like listen, it all worked out. Like you did get released shortly after that, but like let's say yourself, you went to New Japan, reunited with Jonah, Mikey Nichols, you become New Japan Tag Team Champions, New Japan Straw Openweight Champions. Like you've also you did your own first G1 as a singles wrestler. Like as an experience, last couple of years, how cool has that been?
It's just been nice to be like to go from a TV show, a TV wrestling show, where everything is just and same like at the time it was all new territory for people like COVID and shit like that. And so it was just here, shit coming at you from all sides and people throwing shit against the wall that wasn't working and then them just doubling down on that shit. And like, maybe this next time, maybe that next time, to having my first match back in New Japan afterwards being coming back and then being like, that was great. Oh, well, great job. Great job. And I'm like, what's this positive reinforcement? What's this? People happy to be around wrestling? And then,
you're being nice to me,
just like, I'm like, what do you want from this match? And they're like, I don't know, you're the professional. You go do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I was like, right. I remember it was like, it was, there was one of the New Japan Strong ones was the first ones that I did.
Okay.
And Rocky Romero was backstage and I was like, yeah, what do you want from this match? He's like, I don't know, 10 minutes. You're the professional, you do what you do. And I was like, tick. I love you, Mickey.
What is this?
He's like, that was great. Yeah. He's like, that was great. And then going to Japan and just putting your own matches together and putting your own stories into things. Just so easy, and people are just easy to work with. People get it.
Yeah.
Not every the people crowds are there for them. It's like you go to UFC and boxing, they're there for the main event matches.
Yeah.
So when we're on these lower card matches, you don't have to go kill yourself in them. You just entertain the fucking crowd, give them what they want to see, and you don't hurt yourself or kill yourself. You know what I mean? You still go out there and do your job. But your job's not always to have a 5-star match. Sometimes your job is to keep the crowd happy until the big matches come. And that's something that Japan definitely does. They build their cards around the higher matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're involved with them.
Yeah, just the freedom and then the fun of it all. And you know, like the mic time in WWE, you see like a lot of people put a lot more into those .com things afterwards. And that's because that's where they get to be themselves and talk. And that was one thing that I thought was strange about WWE is like we would do promo class and get critiqued on promos that we would write ourselves. And they're like, oh, you need to be put more into this. You need to do more of that. You get on TV and they go, all right, here's your script. I'm like, well, then what was the point of me doing these classes?
Yeah.
Like we did some like proper acting classes in NXT and that helped. Like that was good to be able to like remember how to learn to memorize lines and stuff like that. But I always thought it was funny. Like you hire people, do these tryouts and you do these promos and you present this character that is authentic to you, and then they give you a writer to then tell you who you are. I'm like, well, then why? Like, it makes more sense that you keep hiring all these athletes and that instead, because then you have a blank character to mold for your TV show.
Yeah,
which it's a TV show, so it makes sense that you make characters that you want for your TV show.
Yep.
So I'm like, all right, but it's always weird to me. Like, you need to be better at this, and like people are like, they need to be better on the mic. You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, you never heard me talk. You never heard me talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like at Retribution, when we actually got to do some promos and stuff, that was they had stuff written out for us sometimes, but they were like, well, we've got like horror masks. So do you want us to be like supernatural characters? And they're like, try it. And then we go back and they're like, nah, not that. The next week, they're like, be more human. And then so we'd talk human like in the next one. They're like, no, you got to be more the other way than that. I'm like, oh my God, it's just like to trial and error. But that is one thing. Like, I don't know if you saw, there was some raw talks that we did after. There's some digital stuff. And that's, we got to choose what we wanted to say in that. Not that anyone saw any of it, so it doesn't matter because people will still be like, no, they need more mic work. I never wanted Slapjack to talk. I wanted Slapjack to be like, do manners like the Black Noir or something like that. But then I wanted
Mime in a box or something.
I wanted Mace to know exactly what I was saying. Like if I look at him and be like, he goes, well, Slapjack, he thinks this and this and that. And I'm like, the silent Bob, Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. I said before, like that. the way you articulated professionals being professional doesn't sound like rocket science. You don't have to micromanage people in every line of work.
Yeah.
Sometimes empowering people gets a better result than critiquing people and overly micromanaging people as well. Like,
that's the thing. Like, that's pro wrestling, and then there's TV, and like I've done stuff in TV as well, and it's even more like micromanaged because they do want everything perfect, and that's part of it. So that's what WWE is, definitely a wrestling TV show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from what I see at the moment, like there is a lot more. It does seem like there's a lot more freedoms and whatnot there, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, there's a lot of people living their dreams as well, as we touched on earlier. People who've grown up watching WWE and they get to, if that's what they want to do with their life, that's fair enough. Like, that's what, each their own. But like, listen, you are doing some incredibly cool stuff. Like, obviously in the lead up to Forbidden Door, you had a couple of appearances on AEW. You got to appear with Mike.
Yeah, I love doing AEW.
Eagles.
AEW is so much fun too.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of similarities between that and WWE because it is a national, worldwide wrestling television show. But yeah, there's a lot more freedoms there to be yourself and like trust. Like Tony trusts the wrestlers to go do what they do, which is great. And you come back and he's so supportive. He loves everything. So I don't know if that's a good barometer of if I'm actually good or not. But like afterwards, I'm like, oh, I'm really good. I can't remember what match, but there was one match I had, and I'm like, that wasn't very good. Or at least I wasn't very good. And he was like, man, that was great. Thank you very much. And I'm like, maybe I am good. Like wrestling is a big part of wrestling is confidence. Like if you've got confidence, people will see you in the ring with that confidence. You can do nothing and just be, if you exude confidence, but you have to have that confidence. You have to have that built up. So that's a funny difference of it there and chill. But like the best thing for me in wrestling is like the backstage. I say the boys, but it's just everyone backstage, from the guy wrestlers, the female wrestlers, the staff, producers, things like that. And that's what Japan, man. We have like a lot of guys come to Japan and hang out in the locker rooms with us and like go on tours with us on the bus and stuff. And they love it, man. They're like, oh man, I wish I could be here all the time. It's just so chill. And like we do our wrestling thing and then we fucking just hang out. Everyone's normal. No one's trying to steal anyone's job. We all get a turn. Everyone's working hard. Everyone's working together, and that's a big part of it. Like community. I think that's I because I'm not in a lot of these other locker rooms. Like obviously I'm not in WWE locker rooms, so I always enjoyed it there too. Even when I wasn't doing anything, there was good camaraderie between the boys.
Right.
And I think that's just getting better and better with the culture of wrestling, with newer people coming in. No one's trying to like be the boss of the locker room and police people. Everyone's just doing their thing and helping. Like that's the best thing, to help each other out, be cool with each other.
Yeah,
it's excellent to everyone.
It's not a big ask to be nice to people you work with, and people enjoy working in a place where people are nice to each other, and they can apply that to any walk. But listen, I've taken huge time.
Even if stuff's gone wrong, like on the product, and you're not really happy with where you're on there. If you can then have your safe place in the locker room with people, you can be like, all right, well, it's cool. We're good. It's all good.
And particularly wrestling, it's an art form where you're literally walking out and close to your underpants in front of an audience and television cameras. Like you're exposing yourself to the world to a degree. So it's a very tough ask, and only certain people will be able to relate to that on an individual human level.
For sure.
Yeah, like listen, Shane, I've taken huge amount of time. I just have one final question. Again, I'm a huge fan of yours as a single wrestler, as a tag team as well, worked with Mikey and numerous other partners over the years. What opponents, I suppose you look worldwide, obviously there's so many different tag teams, so many individual wrestlers. Is there any particular wrestlers you're looking at, be it for the end of this year when you're looking at Wrestle Dynasty, Wrestle Kingdom, huge shows on the horizon? Anybody in particular you're thinking of as a potential opponent?
In the future? Fuck.
In the summer, Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Dynasty, the next 6 months, 12 months?
Good question.
I have a few suggestions if you're opposed to them.
Give me your suggestions.
Well, I am a tag team kind of fan. There's a few tag teams in this part of the world. The Greedy Souls, Brendan Gibson and Danny Jones, very physical team. Team called the Sunshine Machine over in the UK. Chuck Mambo, Jay Cooper is one Kiwi guy in that team.
Oh, is he doing okay? Is Cooper doing okay? I know he's sad. I know he's a sad boy. I hope he's doing okay. He's a very sad boy. That's an old joke. I don't think I've talked to him in maybe 4 years, but every single time someone's like, well, he's a little down at the moment, I'm so just said that all the time. Like, are you doing okay? You're going to be okay, buddy.
Not far.
Who was the first team that you said? Sorry, it kind of cut out on me.
Greedy Souls. They're a team over here, and they're based out. They're Welsh, actually, two guys over here, but they're here in the likes of
Welshies.
yeah, sheep and all that. I know, yeah,
yeah, right.
Yeah, a bit like Kiwis down your way, but yeah,
essentially,
yeah.
Welsh boy, eye roll.
But there's other more teams on American television, the likes of. I'd love to see you guys in a ring with FTR, for example. I think that'd be
again. Like we did a few back in NXT days, and like I like saying that was when things were different. Then I'd like to do that one again, definitely with in an AEW ring or in a New Japan ring. Fuck, top of my head, I can't think because I just like I don't really think that way anymore. I just want to work with people who are cool. And you like also I don't know everyone in the ring. Like working with Cassidy before, that was a great, like I've known him for a long time and seen his stuff, and I've always been like we could mix it up really well. The what was it, the one we had? It was like Claudio. It was cool to finally get in the ring with Claudio.
Yeah,
it'd be cool to do that more. Like I saw a lot of people wanting TMDK versus Black, was it BBC?
BCC, yeah, I know. Obviously, you faced them a few weeks ago. Yeah,
the Blackpool Combat Club, and I'm like, yeah, down for that. Like, I barely got to touch Yuta in that match, and I think he's great.
Yeah,
they look so easy to work with.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of like who, because like we won the tag titles and we haven't had a chance to defend them yet. Like we won them and then left the country for a while, and then haven't had anything going over here. So.
There's a UK team who are similar to yourselves. They've just left NXT. They were there for a couple of years ago. Grizzly Young Vets.
Never heard of them.
Zach,
never heard of them. Well, they got to get in line. If they want a shot, they got to like. I hear a lot of hype for them, but I don't see them doing anything. To be fair, I don't watch any wrestling, but you know, if they want a shot, they're more than welcome to earn a shot. That's what I'm saying.
There you go.
not to talk shit or stir the pot.
This is where we cut it into a short. Yeah, brilliant.
yeah.
Listen, Shane, you've been hugely generous with your time. I really, really appreciate it. You're an absolute legend, and I cannot wait to see what you got and going. Is there any projects or any shows you've got coming up on the horizon you'd like to kind of promote to the fans out here in this part of the world or abroad?
We got the New Japan Academy show coming up early next month that I'll be popping my head into. Like, I love training. I love being around like people learning to train. I like to teach stuff like that. So I go down there at least once a week, especially with the camps that they do. And it's so cool to see people. And so I should be getting in the ring with someone or a few people from that at that Academy show. Don't know who yet, but that's, you know, part of the surprise of that. We got Capital Collision coming up in August as well. I have Epic Pro Wrestling in a couple of weeks where I finally get to wrestle Kevin Blackwood.
Nice.
So I'm very excited about that. I don't want to call him a mini-me, essentially, because he's far more talented. But I can definitely see we've both been inspired by the same wrestlers. We have not similar styles, but similar influences.
Okay.
I mean, I'm like 100 pounds heavier than him and 10 years older. So when I was younger, it was definitely similar. But I see that, those influences there. So I'm like never wrestled him before. So I'm very excited for that. Apart from that, I'm just like, you know, couch napping and walking the dogs. I got like a bit off. Won't be there for the G1, unfortunately. It's a lot of work. Fuck them. I'm not a hard work wrestler, man. I'm a wrestler for fun.
You seem to be living an unbelievable life now. I'm going from the misery of Orlando to where you're doing now. It seems brilliant.
Yeah. TMDK is very well represented in the G1 today. We don't need this year. We don't need the rest of us there because we already know TMDK is going to win it. You know what I mean? We only needed the one. We only need the one in there, and that's the best one. That's the best one.
What's the saying? Too many cooks spoil the broth.
Yeah, that's it. What are we gonna do? Like, we're not gonna step on each other's moments, you know. So I'm cool with that. We got Tag League coming up in the future as well. So I'm sure Zach won't be in that. He can step away from that and let me and Mike have a go. And what else? Fuck. Let me check my schedule. Let me check my schedule. I know I got stuff. The wife always makes sure we got stuff going on. Oh, we got you know what I'm doing next week?
I'm going to
see the Wrexham Women's Club play.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're playing at one of the UCF or something like that, UCLA.
Okay.
They're playing one of those teams. So we got tickets to that. So I'll be there. I'll be there. Not that matters.
Yeah.
I'll see you. I might get on the pitch. We'll have a go. It's my anniversary with Mo coming up. 6 years with my dog. 5 years with my dog. So thank you.
So you could go for dinner with them, or what are you doing? Or
I don't know. I'd probably get her. I think seeing Gaslight Anthem next month. That's pretty fucking cool.
Very cool.
That's going to be a good one. Oh, we got my wife's 30th birthday coming up. Going on a big trip to that. There you go. And friend's wedding. Then we have Collision, and then that's all. That's my full schedule.
Outstanding. When are you going to be appearing on Collision, or is that to be announced?
Capital Collision.
Capital Collision. Sorry, excuse me. Capital.
Yeah.
Collision. Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, that's my bad too. I forget that there's a thing called Collision as well.
A lot of people.
That'd be great. Hey, Tony, mate. I'm free. I'm free on Saturdays, mate. I just told you. Free Saturdays and Wednesdays if you need me.
I've no doubt he'll watch every minute of this now, and he'll be contacting you imminently.
He will. Or he'll just skip to the end.
Yes. I'll
clip it.
I'll find somebody. Yes, clip it and just put that piece out there, and we'll try.
Yeah.
See if it makes sense in his hands.
But no, that's good.
No, listen, Shane, hugely appreciate your time. You've been more than giving, and as your Twitter says, you are hysterical. And listen, no matter if you're a lunger or a kneeler, we can all get along.
That's it.
My friend, listen, thank you very, very much, and have a brilliant weekend.
You too, mate. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.